At exactly 2:13 a.m., the radar screens inside a heavily guarded air defense station suddenly flickered. Operators stared at the monitors, confused. The sky above them looked empty. No aircraft, no missiles, nothing unusual. Yet somewhere high above the dark ocean, moving silently through the cold night air, one of the most advanced machines ever built by humans was already there. Invisible, unstoppable, and carrying the power to change the course of a war. The aircraft was the Northrop Grumman B-2 Spirit, the most famous stealth bomber ever created. To the people on the ground, it was nothing more than a myth whispered about in military briefings. But tonight, the myth was real, gliding across the sky like a silent shadow. The night was unusually calm over the vast runways of Whiteman Air Force Base in the state of Missouri. The base was home to the United States Air Force's fleet of B-2 Spirit stealth bombers, aircraft so advanced that even many military personnel had never seen one up close. Inside a dimly lit hangar, technicians moved quietly around the massive flying wing aircraft. The B-2 didn't look like a traditional airplane. There was no tail, no visible fuselage, and no protruding structures. Instead, the aircraft resembled a giant black triangle stretching 172 feet from wingtip to wingtip. Its surface absorbed radar waves, allowing it to slip past even the most sophisticated air defense systems. Two pilots walked toward the aircraft, their boots echoing softly against the concrete floor. They were veterans of long-range stealth operations, trained to fly missions that could last more than 30 hours without landing. One of them placed his hand on the smooth black surface of the bomber. "Ready for another long night?" he said quietly. The other pilot nodded. Tonight's mission would take them across half the planet. Deep inside the operations building, military strategists monitored glowing digital maps. The mission plan had been prepared for weeks. Intelligence satellites, cyber reconnaissance, and surveillance drones had all contributed to identifying the exact coordinates of the target. The objective was a heavily fortified military complex hidden deep within mountainous terrain. Ordinary aircraft would never reach it. Enemy radar networks formed multiple layers of detection, stretching hundreds of miles. Surface-to-air missile batteries were positioned across the region, designed specifically to destroy incoming aircraft long before they could reach their targets. But the B-2 Spirit was built for missions exactly like this. Originally developed during the final years of the Cold War, the stealth bomber was designed to penetrate the most heavily defended airspace on Earth. Its revolutionary shape scattered radar signals away from their source, making it nearly invisible to traditional detection systems. In theory, the aircraft could fly directly over enemy territory without ever appearing on radar screens. Back at the runway, the massive hangar doors slowly opened. The B-2 rolled forward under its own power, guided by ground crew wearing reflective gear and night vision headsets. The aircraft's 4 engines were buried deep inside the wings, reducing heat signatures and noise. From a distance, the bomber almost seemed to melt into the darkness. As it approached the runway, the pilots completed their final systems checks. Navigation systems, operational. Stealth coding integrity, confirmed. Weapons bay, armed. The aircraft carried precision-guided munitions designed to strike within a few feet of their targets, even from thousands of miles away. The tower cleared the aircraft for departure. Moments later, the B-2 Spirit accelerated down the runway, its engines producing a deep, powerful hum. Within seconds, the enormous flying wing lifted into the air and disappeared into the night sky. Hours passed as the aircraft climbed to cruising altitude. Below them, the lights of American cities gradually faded behind the horizon. The bomber crossed vast stretches of ocean, guided by satellite navigation and encrypted communication systems. the pilots operated in near silence. Flying a stealth bomber was unlike any other aircraft. Every movement had to be calculated. Even the smallest mistake could compromise the aircraft's stealth profile. The B-2's onboard computers constantly adjusted flight surfaces to maintain the perfect radar-deflecting shape. Outside the cockpit window, the stars stretched endlessly across the sky. Thousands of miles away, radar operators in a heavily defended region monitored their airspace. Their systems were designed to detect everything: commercial airliners, military aircraft, drones, even birds under certain conditions. But tonight, the radar screens showed nothing unusual. High above them, the B-2 Spirit glided silently through the atmosphere. The aircraft's stealth technology allowed it to slip through gaps in radar coverage that conventional aircraft could never exploit. Inside the cockpit, the target coordinates finally appeared on the pilot's display screens. They were approaching hostile territory. The pilots activated additional stealth protocols. Radio transmissions were minimized. Electronic emissions were reduced to the lowest possible levels. To the outside world, the bomber became almost completely invisible. As the aircraft approached the target region, terrain appeared on the radar mapping system. Mountains rose sharply below them, forming natural barriers that concealed the military complex hidden in the valley. The facility had been constructed underground, protected by reinforced bunkers and multiple defense systems. But the B-2 Spirit was built for missions exactly like this. The pilots opened the bomb bay doors for only a few seconds, just long enough to release the precision weapons. At that exact moment, gravity-guided bombs dropped silently toward the earth below. Within seconds, the bomb bay doors closed again, restoring the aircraft's stealth profile. Far below, the first explosion shattered the silence of the mountain valley. Massive shock waves rippled across the facility as multiple targets were struck with incredible precision. Radar stations went dark. Communication towers collapsed. Command bunkers were destroyed. By the time the explosions were detected, the aircraft responsible was already miles away. Inside the cockpit, the pilots watched the strike confirmation data appear on their screens. Mission success. They adjusted their course and began the long journey back across the ocean. The B-2 Spirit continued gliding silently through the night sky, leaving behind no radar signature, no visible trail, only the aftermath of one of the most precise airstrikes ever carried out. More than a day later, the bomber finally returned to Whiteman Air Force Base. Ground crews watched as the dark flying wing descended through the clouds and touched down gently on the runway. The aircraft taxied back into its hangar, where technicians immediately began post-mission inspections. To the outside world, the mission remained classified. No official announcement was made. No headlines appeared in newspapers. Yet somewhere across the globe, military analysts were already trying to understand how their defenses had been bypassed. They would replay radar recordings again and again. But the screens would always show the same thing: nothing. Because when the Northrop Grumman B-2 Spirit flies into action, sometimes the most powerful weapon in the sky is the one no one can see.